And welcome everyone. I think we should be live. Hi Tish, hi Pisas. I've not seen you yet, but I see that Tish is saying hello. Let me know in the chat that you can hear me properly. If you've just clicked on this live, you don't know what you're watching. It's gonna be a live walk in Camberwell, my local area. But we've got about 12 minutes before to start. We're just waiting for everyone to connect. Let me know in the chat. You can hear me and see me well. Perfect. Lovely. That's great to hear. It looks a bit different from what I'm used to. Ooh. Oh, it's interesting. So the chat comes up and then it disappears. So if I don't read it in the next 5 seconds, then it's gone, which is interesting. Different, I guess. But I guess we could get used to that. Although I'm quite a slow reader, I'm dyslexic, so if it disappears too quickly, I might miss a few messages. So welcome everyone that just joined. We've got quite a few minutes. We're just waiting for everyone to connect. If any of you are wondering what's happening today, we are live. Usually to go live, I use some third-party apps like Prism Live or Streamlabs, because so far YouTube has not been able to deliver. YouTube mobile streaming is often a bit blurry, or at least it becomes blurry after 20 minutes. I need to check what that is. There's a few things, I don't want to click on anything, I don't know what they do, but yeah. It sometimes gets a bit blurry. I've not tried now in over a year and a half, I think. Last time we tried was in Kennington, not far from here actually, and it did go very blurry fairly quickly. But I trust Google. You know, Google is such a huge international tech company. You'd hope that they might have improved in the last year or so. Loving the pears. Cool. So far, is the quality as good as usual? Let me know in the chat. There are not many of you yet, but I think it's because I've made it unlisted, because I didn't want it to be public, because I didn't know if the quality was going to be good enough. If the quality is decent, I'll probably make it public after the tour, so anyone can watch it on replay. It's crisp and clear. Ooh, that's good news, Linda. That's good news. Perfect. Really sharp. Okay. Wow. The reason why I really want to try again and again streaming straight through YouTube, it's because, well, first, I've got my own issues with Prism and stuff, but also because we need to find a way to get more people to join those lives. I mean, you know, financially, it's not going very well for me at the moment. I mean, my YouTube, and the thing is, a lot of the landscape lives on YouTube, they get hardly any visibility. You know, YouTube only shows it to your subscribers. But the thing is, I don't do much videos to get some new subscribers. So the thing is, my reach is quite limited. When you do portrait vertical lives, you then end up in the live feed. So people could go, you know, like you go with your shorts feed. So you could go from one live to another, like when you're watching television, for example. And that would give me a lot more visibility. I've never really done it before because I don't like it vertical. Neither do you. I think you've made it quite clear that you prefer it landscape as well. But YouTube has announced a lot of improvements or a lot of new features, at least in the next year or so, or in the next few months, really, rolling out through the year. Hi, Laurie, and welcome everyone. And yes, Laurie, it's unlisted at the moment. I didn't want too many witnesses in case it went badly with the technology. But yes, so eventually at some point this year, or maybe beginning of next year, YouTube is gonna allow me to stream well, I don't know whether it's going to be available on mobile streaming or is it only from the computer at home, but hopefully they'll allow me to stream landscape and portrait at the same time, that would be brilliant, because then I would be discoverable in the live feed, and that hopefully could bring us a few new viewers. You're missing the money option? It should be there somewhere, because I've got a little USD 0 at the top, so it should be there somewhere. I could have also set up a challenge, you know, like I didn't do that, but I could, you know, set a challenge, and if I get more than so many dollars, then I'll have to do something, or, you know, that's always fun, but we can see that next time if we do it again. I don't want to get too excited, because remember the very first time I streamed through YouTube, like literally straight after Hego, like over 2 years ago now. It was okay at the beginning, and then after 20 minutes it went very pixelated. Hi Mark, nice to see you here. Hi Sam. Yes, this is straight through YouTube, Sam. It's going to be a small audience today, because at the moment the live is unlisted. And let me see what time it is. Oops. We've got 7 minutes before to start. Let me give you a glimpse of the view. I'm right in front of a murder location. But I'll show you the building and I'll tell you the murder as we go, because I'm pretty sure people that bought the property wouldn't know about it, because the street have been renumbered, so they probably have no idea that they live in a murder location. Yeah, so do I, Sam. I really hope it works, because really it's annoying to use a third party anyway, and you know, Prism has started to charge for some of the features. Well, the only thing here is that I don't have a feature to show you. Oh, maybe I do. I've got a camera icon. I don't know what it does. And I've got a little, you know what, at the end of the tour, I'll experiment with the little things. I don't want to do anything wrong. So at the end of the walk, we'll settle somewhere and we'll experiment with all the little buttons. So yeah, I don't think I have the, exactly, now you have to pay to have the Prism branding away from the screen. And I don't really, if I was making a bit more money on the lives, I would maybe pay, but at the moment I can't really justify it, if I'm honest. Anyway, lovely little residential area. They look like beautiful homes, but most of them must be divided into 3 or 4 flats, you know. London is a very expensive place to live, so to have a full house like this, you'd probably have to be a millionaire. I don't really like the fact that the chat disappears, because there might be a way to stop that in the settings. It's hard to describe, but when you write something in the chat, I see it for maybe 35 seconds and then it goes away. I don't know why. They might be able to look into that in the settings. Right, let's see what time it is. 5 minutes to go. The image is great so far. Well, that'll be brilliant. I want to try to stay live for a good, maybe like 40 minutes at least, just to make sure it stays on. Because the issue with YouTube 2 years ago, it was fine at first, and then, so we'll see. I do hope we get a few more people joining, but they won't see it on their feed. It's only people that would have hit the bell that will get the notification, because it is unlisted. So this tour is, well, I've done my homework, but it might be a little bit less research than it usually is, because I simply didn't know if it was going to work or not. So it might be a bit more casual. And I've already got problems with my shoelaces. Bear with me, I'm just gonna try to do my shoelaces whilst holding the gimbal. You know what, I'm just gonna do a double knot. That will do for now. There we go. And Linda, you've made it. Welcome everyone, nice to see you guys all here. We've got a few minutes before to make a move to go for a little walk in Camberwell. You didn't get the notification? That's probably why we don't have many people. Well, if any of you have a minute, if you wanted to post the link on Facebook, maybe that'll help people that don't know how to join. Although I've already posted it a few times, but you know. Oh, neither did you? Oh, okay. That's interesting. How do they expect people to turn up if they don't send them the notification? Oh well. If the image is clear anyway, I'll probably set it as public after the live so people can watch the replay if they want to. Oh, why did it fail, Laurie? The link didn't work? Yeah, it's nice to have a small committee, I suppose, to an extent. Yeah, I guess it's because when you get the link from elsewhere, you need to be logged into the right Google account and stuff, because otherwise... and Cindy is here. Welcome, Cindy. Oh, you came from the calendar and it worked perfect. Good to hear, good to hear. So we've got about 2 minutes, I think, before to go. Yes, 2 minutes. So it is nearly 6:15 p.m. UK time, and today is the 4th of... is it the 4th? Yeah, I think it is the 4th of October. 4th or 5th? No, 4th, because I'm flying on the 5th. I'm flying tomorrow to North Macedonia. Oh, no problem from the calendar for you. Okay, great. Great. Oh, your notification worked. Good, good. Yeah, that's what happens sometimes, Linda, when we have to log in from a link sometimes, because I've got a couple of Google accounts myself. Oh no, Laurie, that's going to be next month. I'm going to Hungary next month. No, it's just tourism. North Macedonia on Kosovo. So I'm going for just under a week. No lives, I'm afraid. I won't have any internet, and I don't really. I mean, I'm only 3 days in each country, so I really can't justify buying a SIM card and everything. But I'll be doing videos. Right, let's see. It is officially time to start. So, welcome everyone. Yeah, exactly. I'm back on the 12th through the night, so I'm flying on the 11th in the evening. But yeah. Right, welcome everyone. I'm glad YouTube is so far delivering and the image is nice and clear. I'm just going to tap the microphone as well because it's a bit windy today. You know the drill. Let me know in the chat whether you've heard the 3 tapping, because if it was disconnected for any reason, you could hear a bit of wind. Anyway, let me flip this camera around. You've heard the tap, perfect. Lovely, right. So let me show you this beautiful building. Well, beautiful. Those heads are quite scary. I don't know why they, I don't know whose portrait or sculpture it is on over the doors there. it might be the architect or whatever, but they look a bit scary. And guess what? It's a murder location. But you know what? Let's start walking, and I'll tell you as we go. Because if I lived in one of those infamous murder locations, I probably wouldn't want, or I don't know if I would actually. I don't know if I would like those YouTubers coming in front of my window and telling me the horrors that happened in my house. Actually, if you've paid 1.5 million for them. Anyway, the story, it's a murder that's been pretty much forgotten today. It is the murder from a guy called Gentleman Jim. I don't know why they called him Gentleman Jim, because he was anything but a gentleman. So we're going back to Victorian time, when there was a young lady that lived inside. Her name was Emma. Oh, before anything else, let's take a look at the letterbox. You might be able to see it's missing something. It is missing the royal cipher. So they must have had some door replacement at some time, because sometimes the royal cipher would be there at the front, sometimes it would be on the side, and sometimes it's nowhere to be seen. That's probably because they've changed the door at some point. Anyway, back to Gentleman Jim. He was born in Camden, but because he was a bit of a naughty boy, he had been sent to some family members in Australia, and he actually got in trouble in Australia. He was in prison because he nearly killed an old lady, and eventually years later he came back to London because his dad passed away. So he wanted to make sure he wasn't going to be robbed of his inheritance. And so when he came here, he got his inheritance and he started to gamble. He was betting on horses and stuff like that. He was called Gentleman Jim, but his name was James Banbury. And so at that point, he looked like a gentleman somehow. He was betting on horses a lot. And he was actually winning a bit at the beginning, but then he started to lose some of his money. And that's when he started to date a young girl called Emma. She's the one that lived in the building we've just seen. And she used to be a maid, but she had left that job to start a lifestyle as, I don't want to say a sex worker, but, you know, the type of ladies that were kept by gentlemen. So borderline sex worker, let's say. And she started to date Gentleman Jim. And when he turned up to have no more money anymore because he gambled everything, she dropped him. So he had to move out. He moved to Pimlico. And one day he went to the pub, had a few too many. And he jumped in a cab, you know, one of those old hackney cabs, those horse carriages. And as he got into the cab driver was actually an old mate of his. So they were like, he was like, take me to Walworth. This area is also known as Walworth. We are the border between Camberwell and Walworth, really. He was like, take me to the Walworth Road. They went into a pub together. They had a few gins and another few gins. And then he was dropped here by the house we've seen a moment ago. He spent about 20 minutes inside, and then he came back to meet his friend in the cab. And together they went for more drinks around Charing Cross. And at some point, as the both of them are pissed, he looks at his mate, the cab driver, and he says, I've got to go because I've shot a girl. And the guy, his mate didn't believe him. He was like, no, you couldn't do that to anyone. And he thought he was joking. And eventually, the cab driver did get a bit worried because Gentleman Jim pulled out a gun. And he still didn't believe that the guy had committed murder, but he took the gun away from him just to make sure he wasn't gonna fire it by accident or anything. And Jim got annoyed, and he eventually tried to regain his gun, but he was like, okay, can I pay for it? And eventually the cab driver actually kept the gun. And then they jumped back on the cab, and Gentleman Jim, they were about around Waterloo Place in next to Buckingham Palace and stuff, and he literally jumped off the cab and ran away without paying his fare. And the next morning, the cab driver, after probably dealing with his hangover, he read the newspaper and he realized that there was a young girl that had been shot in Walworth. And he still had the gun with him, so he went straight to the police. And of course, the police were after Gentleman Jim. When they got to his property in Pimlico, it turned out that he had also told his flatmate that he had shot a girl, but the flatmate didn't believe him either. He was so drunk, he thought he was joking. But there was so much evidence against him. He tried to plead not guilty, but he was caught and hanged. So that's a little unknown murder. Anyway, we are now arriving on the Walworth Road, and in front of us, that's Burgess Park. Guys, feel free to keep the chat active, because otherwise I don't know whether you're still here or not. I mean, I see the numbers, but sorry. So yeah, that's the Burgess Park. It is actually one of the newest parks in London. Oh, thank you guys. Let me press the button. It's actually, it's quite rare, but would you believe the park is from the 70s? Usually a lot of parks in London, they're much older than that, and they used to be hunting grounds or plague pits or whatever it might be. Burgess Park is very different because it used to be built upon. You had quite a few houses and a bit of industry as well, but they were. It was quite badly bombed through the Second World War. Some of you might remember we talked about Burgess Park when we did the Old Kent Road on the Monopoly board, because on the other side of the park it's the Old Kent Road. So technically we've been there twice, but we were on the other side. We never came down this side. It's named after Lady Jessie Burgess. She was the first lady. Oh, is it pixelated now? Right, that's sadly what I expected, Tish. Hopefully it's just because of a signal dip and not because well, yeah, I don't know whether, because you see it's been about 20 minutes, and that's exactly what happened a couple of years ago. After 20 minutes, it went a bit pixelated, like if YouTube had some kind of, I don't know, some kind of internal memory storage capacity that then would get full. Or, but anyway, let's keep going. We'll see how it goes. We'll see if it gets any better at some point. Yeah, I knew I shouldn't get too excited too quickly. Anyway, this is Burgess Park. Some of you might remember when we've been there before, we've seen the remains of a canal. There used to be a canal going through. It's been dried up now. It is allegedly haunted, the canal. It is said that sometimes you hear the ghost of some children that might have drowned ages ago when the canal, the Surrey Canal, was running here. So we've got tennis courts. Camberwell used to have a bad reputation in terms of safety. Actually, 2007, there was a chap, a young man called Moses that was shot dead in the park. The police believed it was a case of mistaken. I've lost you for a sec, so it could have been a signal that was doing the pixelization. We should be back now. Let me know in the chat that we are indeed back. So yeah, I don't know if you've heard it, but I was saying that Camberwell used to have a bad rep in terms of safety, and in in 2007, they used to, well, there was a young man that was shot park, a young guy called Moses, and somehow the police believed it was a case of mistaken identity, maybe like gang related or whatever it might be, and they shot the wrong guy basically. But I don't know how the police got to that conclusion. Cool. I hope it's getting better, the blurriness. We'll keep going anyway, this way I can watch the video later and see if it's hard to tell whether it's the signal or whether it's YouTube itself, but we'll see. We'll have to keep going and see. Anyway, we are now in this little enclave of Georgian buildings in inside of Burgess Park. So it's kind of, if you could see on a map, we're kind of like inside of the park, would you believe? This is Addington Square. It's a lovely little square. And, well, there's one address down there, that one. That's where there was a family of gangsters that lived there. That was the Richardson, the Charlie and Eddie Richardson. They were like the competitors with the Krays, really. They were maybe not as infamous as the Krays, but they were a big crime family in South London. Anyway, that's another murder location or manslaughter here. This one, number 13. That's where there was a murder mystery in Victorian time that involved the neighbors at number 14. But again, I'll tell you as we walk, because I don't want them to know if they don't want to know about the murder. So that was at the time you had a lady called Mary Gorman. She lived in there with her daughter Eliza, so she was at number 13. She lived with an army captain. They pretended to be married, but they were not. They were actually living in sin. And next door at number 14, they had a couple called the Greaves. And one day, so the army captain was away. Mary was alone with her daughter Eliza. And the neighbors, the Greaves, they knocked at the door and they went to tell them, oh, would you mind, taking a quick look at, or just keeping an eye on the house, because we're going away for a few days, we're going to a funeral. And of course, Mary agreed. The next day, Mary and Eliza came home from wherever they had to go, and they saw some light in the building. They were like, how rude. Did they come back and not come and knock at the door to say thank you? So the teenage girl, Eliza, she actually dropped she threw some Brazil nuts at the window to attract their attention. And then eventually she went home, and the mummy, Mary, she decided to go and knock at the door at the neighbors. That probably wasn't the safest thing to do, because she wanted to check whether it was maybe burglars. So she knocked at the door, and someone came down to open. So she, apologies, I've lost for a sec. YouTube is telling me we are back. So hopefully we are back. So yeah, so Mary went to knock at the neighbors, and the door opened. Mary went straight in, and she received a big punch. She was literally ejected outside of her own door frame, the neighbor's door, I mean. And that was it. She collapsed on the pavement. Then there's a little boy that knocked at the door next door to see Eliza, and he told her, hey, your mama's collapsed. But because Eliza had just seen her mum very well alive and all good a few minutes earlier, she thought the boy was joking, and she told him to get lost. Eventually, her mum kind of regained consciousness, and she managed to call back home. She was welcomed by Eliza, and they called the police and everything. When the neighbors came back, they did say that there were a few trinkets and spoons and stuff that had disappeared. And Mary saw a doctor, and the doctor was like, oh, you're all right, you'll be fine in a few days. And actually she went, she became very unwell and she passed away 2 weeks later. There was an inquest, and they concluded that it had been murder by persons unknown, but it's still a big mystery. We don't know who those criminals were. Anyway, this is a beautiful building. This is actually a Guinness building. We talked about that when we were in Bermondsey, when we talked about Catherine Eddowes. So that's one of our early social housing. You might be able to read 900. And when I say Guinness, it is from the Guinness family. It's the great grandson, I think, of the founder of the Guinness beer, that donated the equivalent of 15 million pounds in today's money into social housing. That was an interesting family. You might have seen there's a new, I don't have a Netflix account anymore, but there's a new show on Netflix about the Guinness family. House of Guinness, I think it's called. It just came out last 2 weeks ago, I think. I'd love to see it, but I don't have a Netflix account anymore. So, hey ho. I hope it's fairly realistic. It looks quite good anyway. Right. Hope the quality of the picture is decent on your hand. And let's go down towards Camberwell Green. Camberwell, by the way, we are not too sure where the name came from. Like many names across London, it's probably Saxon. Well, that's pretty sure it's named after a well. There were a few, but at least one well in Camberwell. Just off Camberwell Grove. We'll see that straight in a moment. And Camberwell, a lot of people, it's very much debatable where some people believe that it used to be Crooked Well. Crooked as crippled. Sorry, I know it's the term we wouldn't use today, but there were probably a lot of people with disabilities that came to bathe in the good waters of Camberwell to regain their, to try to regain their health. So that's probably where it comes from, but we don't know for sure. Oops. Those crazy people on those fake scooters. They're not even scooters, they're scooters where you sit. Look at that, a foxy friend and a squirrel friend. Now, we're not gonna go all the way because there's nothing to see today, but let me just show you from here. There's another infamous murder location. Right, that one there, today it's a new build, but that was the site of the Camberwell Horror, 1902. There was a little shop there in the corner, and they had placed an ad in the paper to sell the shop. And there's a guy that pretended to be called Owen that came to visit. His name was actually Edward, I think. He came to visit the shop. The shop belonged to the Darcy family, a couple with a young infant. And Owen was like, yeah, I like the shop, I'll take it. Well, he did take it, but he actually murdered the full family. So then he took possession of the shop. No one in the neighborhood was very suspicious because they knew the shop was on sales. So they knew that a new business owner should be coming anytime soon. So Owen actually, or so-called Owen, Edgard, didn't actually run the shop himself. He took an employee to run the shop for him, and that's it. He had a free business. He only got caught because he tried to replicate the same thing in in Hackney somewhere, where he replied to an ad to buy a shop, and as he attacked the shopkeeper, that didn't go down well, and he was caught, and he was hanged. So yeah, and the shop remained empty for many, many years. It's been destroyed probably through the Second World War, so there's not much to see today. But it was. Thank you. No one wanted to take over the shop for many, many years because, of course, you know, when you have such a horrible tragedy happening between those walls, it's hard to find a new buyer or a new lodger or a new renter after that. Anyway, we're actually approaching my place very much. That's the little road I take on a bicycle at least 4 times a day. I never really take the main road because Wanderers Road it can be a bit dangerous. I've had quite a few crashes on the bicycle with cars that don't give a crap. So I always try to take the back streets. So when I cycle, so that's the street I take when I go towards maybe the Tower of London or London Bridge or wherever it might be. Now back to Camberwell. So. Camberwell, you might know the name because of the Camberwell beauty, the butterfly. It is the site where the first one was spotted in the 1700s. I don't know if I've ever seen a Camberwell beauty because I've seen it on street art so often. It's a bit yellow and black, beautiful butterfly. And Camberwell is also known, we probably won't go all the way today, but there's also an art school. So it's a very arty area. And it's just been voted, that's a bit too much if you ask me, but it's been voted the 4th coolest location across the globe, neighborhood. The 4th coolest neighborhood across the globe. By Time Out. So that's a great honor to live in such a cool location. I don't know whether I'd say it's that cool. It is kind of cool because it's very gentrified. You know, it used to have a bad rep. Oops, sorry. I've just stepped on a can. It used to have it used to have the reputation to be a bit dangerous. It still is to an extent. I mean, we get burglared very often at mine. The police doesn't even turn up most of the time because it's just all the time. And you still have a few gangs and stuff. But yeah, it's getting a bit gentrified and very arty and hipsterish. So I guess that's why I don't exactly know what the criteria are for applying to be the coolest neighborhood, but yeah. Anyway, see the big white building there? That's it's going to be redeveloped. I've seen the plans on the Southwark website. It's going to be a huge redevelopment. They'll keep the structure of the building. Yeah, well, Linda, most of the time the burglars, they only take bicycles or computers and stuff, but I'm on the 3rd floor, so most of the time they don't come all the way to my room. But yeah, it's every so often, every maybe a couple of months or yeah. Anyway, this was a magistrate court. So my understanding is that they'll keep the base of the building, and up there they'll build like a bit of a tower. So it's gonna be oh, my gimbal has no value, Linda. I mean, I bought it for 60 quid secondhand, so now it's probably worth 30 quid. So I don't think that's what they'll be after. I think they prefer bicycles or phones or, yeah. Anyway, the magistrate court, I don't think it's been closed for that long. I've been living here about 7 or 8 years now. I think it was still open when I first moved in. But you might have seen it on TV. There's a BBC show called London Kill. It's a crime drama in London. And this very building is being used as the police station. So all the interiors are probably inside as well, but the exteriors, it's the exteriors of the police station. We actually see my building as well in the show. It's very quick, but I was like, yeah, I know where that is. So yeah, that'll be interesting to see how it redevelops in the future. And it's not.
It's got squatters in it.
Well, it's meant to happen.
It's meant to happen for 10 years.
I don't know if you could hear the gentleman saying it's never going to happen because there's squatters in it. But it will happen eventually. That's the very reason why I can live where I live, because they want to avoid squatters. So, I've got a special contract. I live in a former nursing home that is right here. I don't really want to show you my front door because it's probably not a good idea to show people on YouTube where you live. Because, you never know, you could get some crazy stalkers and stuff. But you can see my building on screen right now. But that's the very reason why I get to live here with a bit of a cheaper rent than usual. It's to avoid squatters. So I don't know, one day it might be knocked down and redeveloped, of course. I think the planning permission, the property developer didn't actually have the planning permission for the first one they applied for, so that's why I'm still here. But one day I might be evicted and they might knock it down. It's not an old building, it's from the 90s. It used to be a nursing home and now it's us. Hi Michaela, happy birthday. Right, this is Camberwell Green. Lovely little park, although it's full of rats. I don't know what the foxes are doing, but they're not eating those rats. It's full of squirrels as well, so sometimes I'm in there and I'm like, oh, a squirrel, and then I'm like, oh, okay, no, you're the dirty cousin. I kind of like rats anyway. I don't want to like them, but I think they're cute sometimes. But yeah. Anyway, let me flip the camera around to show you this building here. This is also a young, an early site of social housing. It's a Peabody building. We talked about Peabody when we talked about Polly Nichols, if you remember. Yeah, I agree. It's a beautiful building for social housing. A lot of the Peabody buildings are rather beautiful from the outside. George Peabody, we talked about him briefly when we talked about Polly Nichols. He was an American banker. He donated, I think it's the equivalent of £45 million in today's money, to create those early social housing in Victorian times. So that was open to families of good characters. You'd have to have a letter from your employer and stuff, and the Victorians, they kind of had those deserving poors and undeserving poors. So you couldn't, for example, if you were an alcoholic or anything, you couldn't stay in the Peabody buildings. They would be open to any religion and stuff, but it'd have to be of good morals. Some of you might remember, Polly Nichols was not here. She was in another one in Lambeth, about a mile and a half from here, really. But she, that's probably why she abandoned her family, her husband and kids. It's because if she had been discovered as suffering from alcoholism, she could have been kicked out. And they still, yeah, exactly, Linda, you've got those e-scooters for rent, yeah. And yeah, they're still running the Peabody building, so it's still social housing today. Well, most of it, because you might know in the 80s, Margaret Thatcher, she created something called the right to buy. So now even in the middle of social housing complex, you've got a few flats that are actually private, because people have had the opportunity to buy their own apartments. So now in a building like this, you've got a lot of social housing and a few flats that probably have a value of 800,000 or maybe even up to $1 million. Some of them were going on auction a few months ago, but they were in terrible conditions. You'd have to redo everything. Anyway, let's go down the Camberwell Church Road. So Camberwell it's a big junction. You have a lot of traffic because down that road you can go all the way down to Peckham and New Cross and Greenwich and pretty much anywhere down east. Oh, I'll show you the name. You see, you can. I don't know whether you can see with the quality, but it still says Peabody Trust. So that's the main road down here. Down the other side, you've got that's the road that would go down towards Denmark Hill. It's a bit more like big chains. You know, you've got McDonald's and Costa and Lidl and Morrison's and all that. But Camberwell Church Road is a bit more independent restaurants and bars and pubs, and so it's a bit nicer in that matter. And that leads to the Church of St. Giles. I'm gonna wait because it's a bit noisy. Yeah, you might see the church spire, that is St. Giles. We'll go and take a look in a moment. St. Giles was the saint patron of the people with disabilities. So that makes sense if we think that Camberwell was named after the crocodile. That street on the right is quite fancy. Camberwell is a mix between some well, it used to be very working class, but there are a couple of streets that are very fancy indeed. Boris Johnson used to have a property in Camberwell. He sold it a few years ago, but he did. And this is the Camberwell public bath, so leisure centre, where I can go for free. I never do, but there's a scheme in Southwark, so Londoners living in Southwark can use the facilities for free on weekends. So that's nice. So everyone can have access to a gym and a pool, or even a sauna if I went to Elephant and Castle. I never go. I'm registered because we did have some plumbing issues sometimes at mine back in the day. So I wanted to be able to come and take a shower there if needs be. But I never actually go to the gym. I'm not much of a gym person. Right, now, this shop here, number 39, it's also a murder site, I'm afraid. Linda, it's not a public bath anymore. It's a swimming pool. It's a normal swimming pool. It's not to go and wash. But I've had pretty much every December the hot water goes off at mine because it's 49 of us and the boiler doesn't have the capacity. So I wanted to keep a gym card just in case if I wanted to go and have a hot shower at the gym. I never actually do it. I only have the cold ones, but yeah. Anyway, murder again. So just gonna wait. It's quite normal in Camberwell. Sirens, police, ambulances. And the street straight ahead, that's Camberwell Grove, but we'll come back to that. That's a very posh Georgian street. Now, the shop. The shop used to be a coffee house in Victorian times, the Clarendon Coffee House. And it belonged to a gentleman that was in his 30s, quite an attractive guy, apparently with those whiskers and long hair. And he had married a young girl called Emma. She was 18, so same name and same age as the first victim we talked about, the other murder earlier. And they got married, and so they worked together at the coffee shop. John Coppen, he had a little issue with alcohol, and one day went and he had a few drinks as usual, and Emma refused to sleep with him. She was like, "No, you're too drunk tonight. I'm gonna go and sleep with her sister-in-law that had a bedroom in the same building." And in the morning, he was furious. As he recovered from his hangover, he crossed over the street to go and fetch a butcher's knife at the butcher's, and he came back. There were a lot of witnesses. There were a lot of people in the coffee shop, customers waiting for their coffees or their pies or whatever it might be. And I'll just turn around to get another view at the street with the sun setting at the back. And he stabbed his wife, sadly. And he made no effort to hide it. Actually, the sister-in-law was like, "Oh, we need to call a doctor." And he was like, "A doctor is gonna do no good." So yeah, quite a terrible case of feminicide. After that, the coffee shop closed. They sold all their belongings at auction. So that was in 1874. So we are again in Victorian times. And he was hanged. He tried to claim insanity, but he was hanged at Horsemonger Lane prison. We've been in front of the site of that prison, Horsemonger Lane. Again, that was in Bermondsey when we talked about Catherine Eddowes. Now let's go and take a look at the church. Oh, interesting, Laurie. Different ads. How is it looking now? Is it a bit pixelated, or is it fine? I'll be watching the video later on to check anyway, but so we're gonna turn to go down to the church. Oh, it looks good. Okay, well that's good to know. Down that way, that's where you have the Camberwell College of Art, and if you keep going, you end up at Peckham. There was also the site of a former workhouse. One of the buildings is still visible today. That was the infirmary, but we're not gonna go down that. We're going to the churchyard. But look, VR. So Victoria Regina. So this little post box is Victorian. Here, let's cross over to go into the little haunted church lane. Oh, you can take screenshots on your TV. Oh, well. So the building itself, it's been rebuilt. I mean, there was a church there before, but it's from George Gilbert Scott. That's the grandfather of Giles Gilbert Scott, the architect that designed the infamous telephone boxes. And gonna cross soon. They have a crypt in the church, like young artist movies or amateur films or even horror films, apparently. Which is interesting because it is also said to be haunted. We'll go down the little church lane that's said to be haunted. There have been some sightings of a gentleman down this alleyway, a ghost, looking very much like a vicar. But the interesting thing is that there have been some sightings from completely different people, from completely different period of history. Some of them were in the 1930s, then you had some more sightings in the 70s, and then again in the 80s. So, when a lot of people have exactly the same vision, and they don't know each other, they have nothing to do with with one another, sometimes you start to think, is there really some paranormal activity here? There is one contendant to be the ghost. It would have been the vicar that was the vicar here, Vicar Kelly, at the beginning of the century. We're not too sure why he would be haunting the building, but he would have one reason to be pissed off, or his soul might have a reason to be annoyed. It's that his daughter, Rose Kelly, she was ready to marry, so they had an arranged husband planned for her. When she decided not to, she decided to run away and marry a guy called Alistair Crowley. He was an occultist, he was a black magician. He was doing some very weird sexual esoteric practices, whatever that means. They moved up to Loch Ness in Scotland. Apparently, there's a building in the Highlands that is meant to be haunted by ghosts. It's linked to his story as well. So he was a very infamous occultist, and he treated Rose very badly. Actually, she fell into alcoholism, and apparently she was very badly mistreated. Sexually and stuff. I mean, I didn't dive too deep into those stories because that would be in Scotland, so that's probably something for you, Sam. But yeah, apparently he treated her very badly. So that could be why the vicar is still raging and haunting the little church lane. Who knows? It could be any other vicar. But apparently the apparition looks much like a priest. Now we'll go down the Camberwell Grove. It's a beautiful street. Camberwell was also the site of a fair. You know, on Camberwell Green, where we were earlier, in front of where I live, there used to be a fair from the 13th century till the 19th century. But it was a bit rowdy. It was, I guess one could compare it to maybe like the Notting Hill Carnival today. I mean, something that the residents would hate. People loved it, but people used to get drunk, and it was like a festival today, really. And eventually, the local residents, some of them were quite posh, as you'd see with this street here, Camberwell Grove. So yeah, the local residents complained too much, and eventually they had to close the fair in the I think it was in the 1850s. Oh, it's a bit windy down here. I hope you don't hear the wind. Anyway, this is Camberwell Grove. It is a beautiful street with Georgian terrace buildings. Well, it was built for the aristocracy in Georgian times at the beginning of the 19th century. Some of you might have heard there was a map. I think Charles Booth, his name was, the guy that mapped London with different colors. You know, the pink was posh, the black was almost criminal. So at the time it was very, very posh. Then eventually it was divided, and all those big homes were divided into little flats for the working classes. And then in the 60s, people, upper class people, decided to buy those homes and kind of, refurbish them to bring them back to their original Georgian beauty, like bringing back all the engravings on the ceilings and stuff like that. And now it's back to being very posh again. So it's been posh, poor, posh, very, very posh. Those homes you need at least 1.5 million to buy one. There's a couple of council buildings, but they had to respect. It's a conservation area, so they had to keep the spirit of the street. This is the Grove pub. It's a favorite of some of my flatmates. And we'll go down the little alleyway to go and see the next lane. Apparently, when at the beginning of the century, when it was quite working class, the kids used to climb over those bricks. I was watching a documentary the other day, a BBC documentary. I think it's called "The Story of Our Streets," where they invite. It's quite cool. They invite those old people today back into the buildings they used to live in, like they might have lived here in the in the 50s, and now they might be in the 80s, and the local residents actually welcome them back, and they can see how it's changed. I think it's called The Story of Our Streets on BBC. Anyway, I always enjoy watching those documentaries because it's quite cool to see how the streets have changed, sometimes from one extreme to the other. There was another episode on Arnold Circus as well in Spitalfield. That was quite interesting. Anyway, this is Grove Lane. It's also quite a fancy one. Not as fancy as the parallel, but we'll go down this lane to show you a pub. It's changed its name, but it used to be the Crookedwell. So again, probably after the people with disabilities that used to come here. There used to be an asylum as well in Victorian times, and at the beginning of the 20th century, there was what they would have called at the time a lunatic asylum here in Camberwell. Let me cross over. And we still have a hospital today. Actually, I think the asylum was the building that's today in front of King's Hospital. So we still have a big hospital. There we go. So that's the pub that used to be called the Crookedwell. Don't know why they've renamed it. Probably because it referred to disabilities and it didn't sound very politically correct. I don't know. It's never as busy as the other one. The Grove is always very busy. Although it's a bit fancy, the food is a bit expensive there, but it's a beautiful pub. Anyway, that's gonna be the end of the tour. We'll walk back all the way down so you can see we'll be back on the main street. And I hope you enjoyed it today. I hope the quality was decent. It'll be good if I was able to stream straight through YouTube and not use any of the other third parties. Oh, look, window tax. Oh, great to hear, Tish. Now, let me see. I need to see what those buttons do on the side. One is the microphone, so I think that's one is the microphone, so I think that's pretty straightforward. I think that's to mute the microphone. If there's any music or anything in the background, that's probably what I can do. The other one I don't know. Let's see. Oops. Show live video. Oh, I've just turned the camera off. Okay, right, lovely. Right, good to know. I don't want to be doing that. And what's that? Let's see. Hide, retouch. Oh, I can retouch. I might have a few filters. Create highlights, lighting, close. Yeah, it's just a few highlights. But no, there's no way for me to include a video or a photo, which is fine. You know, I could do old style, you know, like I used to do back on Hego. I used to show you the video on a different phone or the photo on a different phone. At night, it works very well. At daytime, it's a bit harder because of the lights and stuff, but at night, it works very well. So that's something that's doable. Anyway, thank you for coming today, guys. It's always a pleasure to have you on board. if you've enjoyed it, if you are gonna drop me a little tip on buy me a coffee or PayPal, that's very, very much appreciated. And as usual, you can also use the $sign if you find it to make a little donation. Now, if you want to see a bit more of me, no live next week. I'm away, but the week after that, we're going down to Paddington. So that's already scheduled. So that'll be a normal live through Prism. But yeah, Paddington and Little Venice. We've done Little Venice before, but that was at the time of Hego. We've not been back down there for ages, and I'll show you a bit more about Paddington. Maybe not the station itself, because you're not allowed to stream in the station, but I'll show you the area. So that's in 2 weeks' time. And in November, we've got a lot to look forward to. It's funny, the sign it's funny, it should be at the same place as usual. I don't understand why it's not there, the $sign. But yeah, thank you. Maybe no Pierce today and a tip elsewhere. So yeah, November, we've got a lot to look forward to. We've got Hungary, we've got Ireland, so I've already scheduled one. We'll talk about one of the best documented past life occurrence or proofs, or however you want to call it, in Malahide. That's just north of Dublin. But I'll be meeting up with Hazel as well, so I might be able to schedule a sorry, I've just missed something. There was a question that finished by private, but it's gone by the time I could read it. That's going to be maybe because the door is private. Yeah, but that wouldn't make sense. Why would? Maybe. Hopefully, yeah. So if I do it again anyway, it won't be private anymore. I just didn't want didn't want too many witnesses in case it went very bad. Yeah, I've got Guy Fawkes as well. Thank you, Tish. So yeah, we've got Guy Fawkes, we've got Hungary, we've got Ireland. So we've got a lot to look forward to in November. Anyway, thank you for coming tonight, guys. Have a great evening or a great morning, whatever time it is for you, wherever you are in the world. And that was about the $sign. Yeah, it might not be there because it's private, but anyway, I don't know why it's not there. It's hopefully we've got the plan B with the PayPal and buy me a coffee and stuff. Anyway, have a great evening, guys. See you soon. And I don't know how to turn it off. I guess it's the cross. And have a good one. Bye-bye.
Not much.